Welcome to The Connection Code, a podcast where we explore the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gilman-Rischel. I run a PR firm called 3PR, focused on healthy food brands. And I am also deeply obsessed with connection and constantly trying to introduce good people to each other.
And I'm Gina Anderson Cohen. I started a health and wellness media company called The Sweat Life that tricks adults into making friends through fitness. And I'm building a boutique hotel and event space in New Buffalo, Michigan that's very deeply rooted in gathering. Needless to say, I'm obsessed with friendship and gatherings.
So Gina, we have a very special guest today, Chef Jason Hammel, and he really inspired our question, which I'll go to in a second. But for anybody who's not familiar, he is the chef and owner of Lula Cafe, which has been around for 26 wonderful years in Logan Square. He's a founding member of Pilot Light, which is a wonderful nonprofit that helps with culinary education for kids. What else? He's a cookbook author. He's a James Beard Award winner for outstanding hospitality. He hosts incredibly cool events in the space next door to Lula. He's an amazing storyteller and writer. And thinking about the James Beard Award, I wanted to ask you, how do you show hospitality to the people that you care about?
Well, I think for me, and this is such a good question because Jason gives us such a good definition of what hospitality is too in this interview. So I don't want to take any of that away, but I do think there's an element of hospitality that is empathy. That is empathy in action, understanding the needs of the people you love, care about, are hosting, et cetera, and meeting those needs in surprising and delightful ways. So I think to me, showing up for a way at Petite Acres, for example, we're talking to people who are hosting groups at Petite Acres every weekend, every day. So being able to sort of hear their story and anticipate maybe something that would make them be able to sing their story to their groups is really a lovely way for us to show up for them. But in my family, hospitality is more like just knowing that maybe like my mom has had a busy morning already. And so I can sort of take the lead on a meal for the morning. I don't know. What does it mean to you, Rachel?
Okay, first of all, you are such a naturally hospitable person. I just feel like it's baked into who you are, which is a quality I really love about you. And I have a whole thought process, but you said something about anticipating. And I kind of think that's the core of it. Like to be hospitable is to anticipate someone's needs, get ahead of it, and show up before they even have to ask. I mean, that might be gold standard. But we talk about this with Jason, but I watched his speech when he accepted the James Beard Award for outstanding hospitality. And he spoke so beautifully. And he talked about this concept of care water and how you have to sort of replenish your own well before you can help others too. And I just flashed to love languages and how people both give and receive love. So I feel like you're familiar with these. You must be a love language person. Yes. Okay. So I had to remind myself what all 5 are. But the 5 love languages are quality time, acts of service, physical touch, giving and receiving gifts, and what did I not say? Did I say quality time already?
Quality time.
Okay, I wrote down acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, giving, receiving gifts, and quality time.
There we go.
Real quick, what is your love language?
I really like quality time. What about you?
I have 2. I think you could have more than one.
I like to get quality time.
Yes. People, I think, know that I care about them. I show my hospitality for people I love by telling them. I like to be very verbal about it and then carving out special time together. And then that's also in turn how I like to receive love. And so maybe the bigger concept of hospitality is just expressing love in a way that people are primed to receive it. And I just think there's something really special and meaningful about treating people in your world with care and attention to how they want to be seen and recognized.
Yeah, because isn't that kind of half the thing about love languages is like you can understand what your love language is, but what it comes down to is if you don't meet in the case of a love language, though, if you don't meet your partner where they are with the love they like to receive, it's only serving you. It's only serving you to know your own love language. So if someone in a restaurant, if someone sits down at your table and you're like, welcome to Rachel's restaurant, I'm Rachel, and I'll be accepting your words of affirmation and I'll only be giving words of affirmation. Like, that's not a great experience.
No, but I saw that you had dietary restrictions, and I've had the chef create a special menu for you so you don't even have to worry about what you're going to order. So I can just remove that stressor from your dining experience. That would be very hospitable.
Yeah, that is hospitable.
Yes. I mean, I married somebody, and I love this about Ruben very much, but it was a learning process. Is he's acts of service. So it's,
Mm,
I picked up the dry cleaning for you. I made
amazing.
food for you. I got these groceries. Like there's always tasks that are happening, which make
Yeah.
life easier and more seamless. But then I'll be like, what if we had this really amazing date? And that's how I like to do things, is plan something really special. And I think he keeps our lives moving on a really great track.
Hmm. He's the string.
He's a string. Wait, what is Justin?
I think Justin's both string and balloon. I think we alternate being string and balloon. So like there are some ideas where, or some parts of our life where maybe I'm the string, maybe less frequently. And there's some parts of our lives where Justin's the string, but I think we alternate, meet each other where we need to be, because if we're both balloons, we'll just float into the atmosphere and pop.
We're now blending hospitality, the five languages of love, and the relationship idea of one person is balloon, one person is string.
Yeah.
All the things. But I love this conversation with Jason because I think he is an incredibly articulate and deeply thoughtful person. I think he is a very well read and curious human and really looks at
Mhm.
the world through an interesting lens. And I'm excited to dive into this conversation.
Me too. Let's hear what Jason Hammel has to say.
Jason, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, you have this special distinction for me of being both a chef that I really admire and one of my favorite storytellers. And we'll dive into these
Thank
twin
you.
passions of you being a very gifted writer and a gifted chef. But I actually want to start with a big accolade that you won last year, which was the James Beard Award for Outstanding Hospitality. And I feel like there's something really powerful about you winning this award now at a time when people are feeling very disconnected and very lonely and out of sorts. So I wanted to ask what it means to receive this award and how you think you're able to create this culture of hospitality.
Well, it meant, I mean, it was a career highlight for me because it was a team award, and you can't give good hospitality without the entire group of people who are working on the project feeling connected and supported and purposeful. So it is truly like it's one of the few awards and the James Beard Awards where it's about everybody, from the dish team to the prep team to the line cooks to the people. It's not just about what's happening at the tables, and it's really about what's happening between us. And I think a lot about how groups of people come together for common purposes and how much emotional intelligence is required to make those exchanges work. And the hospitality, the world hospitality industry is definitely center in our culture, not just because we love to eat, but because of what the care and the empathy that's being exchanged, like why that matters. And of course, like to me, I think it matters more than ever in a world that's like, you know, yeah, as fractured and divided and, troubled as ours is right now.
I did rewatch your speech last night and got a little emotional as you were delivering it, but you had so many beautiful words. And I thought it was a special acknowledgement, especially because you've been open for 26 years. So this has been a long and hard earned award for Lula.
Yeah, I mean, the restaurant years or whatever, they're like dog years. You have to add them up like that. So, yeah, we're old. But I do think like we were created in the spirit of being. I was 27. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't have much of a plan. So we were created in that spirit. And I do think, like this morning, I read this thing that is an amazing piece in the New Yorker by Rachel Kushner. It's a favorite writer of mine. and it was about fashion, but she was basically like, she was saying like, basically your style identity is formed when you're 13 and then just never changes. Like people might like think it changes, but it doesn't. So I do think that, for Lula, like the identity was formed in that period when we opened, and it really hasn't changed. I mean, we've grown and learned and become other things, but like the idea of being 27 and just like giving it a shot and not exactly knowing what you're doing and figuring out in the moment, and it being more about the community than about the cooking. I think that's carried us through. And so it's kind of amazing to be still feeling that same energy after so many years. And now my challenge is like, how do I keep it? What do I do to maintain that?
I'm curious too, as we're talking about hospitality, and obviously you're very, very, very good at hospitality. How do you teach that? How are you sort of conveying the message of we are hospitable as a group?
Well, I mean, there's a common um, definitional dichotomy that people use when talking about this, where there's like service versus hospitality. Service being like the technical, you get what you need at the time that you need it, and hospitality being the feeling of getting that thing with generosity and of spirit. I don't think you can teach the latter, but you obviously can teach the former. I think a lot about writing and grammar and syntax, which like you can't really, it's really hard to create a feeling in someone if you can't communicate effectively the image or the characters or the story that you're trying to tell. And you need syntax and grammar and words to do that. Um, and so here we teach the grammar of the service moments. Like we talk about, what we want to see from a service perspective. The feelings come from a generosity of spirit that's cultural. And so there's a lot of ways we talk about maintaining that culture. And like we do our best. Like there are troubled, I mean, these are tough times. And like it's things come up that like we have to navigate, the pandemic being one of them, that are tricky. And so um it is about coming up with the right operationalized like policies and ways of treating each other that support the idea that you should be welcomed into the space.
Okay, this is not a question I intended to ask, but I am always curious about it. Do you think that you can truly teach hospitality or it's an innate quality in somebody?
I think that I think you can be taught, but what I mean by that is like it is you can come into a space without having experienced that in your life before or knowing how to give in a certain way. And you could come into a space and be sort of sucked into the spirit of the place and give that same energy. I don't think that that means that just gets taken with you like a lesson. So like when you say, can you teach it? Like it's not about just like teaching it. It's more about like, can you, are you ready for the experience of giving it? So I do think people come into the space. I mean, also restaurants are like widely known for, bringing in people who haven't had like the best luck in their lives. You know what I mean? We have people who, you know, are, uh, you know, are looking for some sort of connection that they don't have either at home or, wherever they're from. Um, and so sometimes they're really ready to give that kind of energy to a space. And, if the culture is right, like they connect to it and then they become sort of, evangelists for it on their own.
I want to talk about hospitality forever, but I'll also I want to talk a little bit about the Italiano of it all. So
Okay.
uh, I studied abroad in Florence, and I know you have a connection to the Mercato Centrale
I
in
do.
Florence. Yeah, so I'd love to hear sort of what you saw, what you learned in the Italian food and dining culture that gave you this sense of what you're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, I I might not look at or sound it, but I'm like three-quarters Italian. So I've got these East Coast Italian uh blood and history, and it became really important to me in my 20s because I was trying to be a writer, and people are like, write what you know. And I'm like, well, what do I know? I know my grandparents' lives, my dad, and my dad had a really colorful life. And there were a lot of colorful characters around that life. So I was really focused on that. And that led me to like study the Italian language and go to Italy, where I found like very little connection between like the culture that I came from and the culture that was there, of course. Um, I've since learned to like deepen that connection and really dig. Um, but I was fascinated by that and the sort of like dissolving of it over time. And there's several like words that I used to use with my grandparents that come from Neapolitan dialect. That no, like if I asked someone in Florence where I lived for the summer, what this word was, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. But actually, recently, I've met enough people from Naples who've really, confirmed that these words that I knew, for that were really like 100 years old, were did exist. So I was like looking for some kind of connection, and really found the connection was really dilute and frayed, but always revolved around food. So yeah, I happened to get that apartment. I was like sight unseen. It was on the piazza at the Central Market. And I did start cooking there. And was starting to write about food, like in from a fictions, I was writing stories, but like there was a lot of food in the stories. So that's sort of like where some of the interest came.
I think you have such a sliding doors life as you've described some of these things over the years. And for context, I'm part of this thing called Between Bites, which is food inspired storytelling. And Jason has generously read for us a number of times. So I've been privy to your work, and you are always riveting. And we always step away afterwards and say, God, Jason's such a good writer. It feels as though you could have taken a very different road and been a successful professional writer. And you instead went this road of being a very acclaimed and professional chef. But when did it become clear which way you're going to head? And is there a future in which the writing comes back around?
Well, I mean, I think there's a future. I'd like to manifest that future sooner than later. I mean, I'm not young, and this is like not an old person's game. But that said, it took me a little while to finish my like MFA thesis, which I think I mean I've told the story before, but like I worked on my thesis with a really acclaimed author, David Foster Wallace, who unfortunately died by suicide um, a long time ago. But I worked with him for several years. That's why I moved to the Midwest. And Dave and I had kind of a troubled relationship. I mean, really just troubled from my point of view, which is that I don't think he liked my writing that much. But he did give me a lot of great advice, and surprisingly some like inspiration to continue toward the end. And like I remember telling him I was going to open a restaurant, and him being like, I mean, literally, this is the last thing he ever said to me, but like him being like, well, how are you going to write? I don't understand. Like, that doesn't seem like it's a good choice. And so I've always kind of kept that in my, heart, especially since I can't have another conversation with him. And, um, and so it does propel me to think like, how could I do it again? But writing takes time and like concentration and hours that I don't have. And I don't want to do it just like halfway.
Not wanting to do something halfway, it's admirable, but I think I think does that also come into the food you're making at Lula? Are you sort of like when you went all in, did you go all in?
Yeah, I mean, this became an obsession and a life that I mean, it's been 26 years, and I mean, I've worked every day practically, and some days many, many hours, and loved it. There are a lot of sacrifices there, sure, but it's been an engaging life, and I got very interested. And like the things that I'm interested about in writing, I sometimes experience with food. There's like a transformative moment when, things come together and they have a beauty. Um, and that's kind of what you're looking for with a sentence, and or a moment. You're just looking for this like thing that you've created to have a presence and a beauty that you didn't anticipate. And that happens a lot with food as well.
As you're saying this, I'm almost picturing Lula as a living book. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
your cast of characters are real people. Your sense of place is the restaurant. You're telling stories every day. They happen around these tables. Like in a way, I'm feeling less like, oh, you chose one path or another. It's just that you moved your writing into a physical manifestation of it. So I do think there's
Yeah.
something really beautiful about that.
Yeah. I mean, there is, but like, there is like that. What I miss is like that solitary, you know, I mean, you'll spend 6 hours working on something that is, several pages long, and you're just like kind of like just chopping away at it and sculpting it and resculpting it and it's just like it's working, but it's arduous and tough. And then all of a sudden you write 3 pages and it's just like this like breathless, like, oh my God, something's coming and I understand it. And I just hit these great lines and it was effortless. I mean, I miss that, and like you have to set yourself up for that to happen. I mean, I guess it's like runner's high. Like no one decides to like go out and get runner's high without. I mean, I'm not a runner, but like without ever running. You know what I mean? Like it's not something you can just go do to experience. It's not like skydiving, but I miss like that kind of work, so I want to do that again.
That's really fascinating to me. I think as Rachel was putting that together, I was kind of putting that together too. I know I mean, I fancy myself a writer. I think Rachel fancies herself a writer. When I read or
In my
listen
own delusional mind, not like an
No,
actuality.
Oh,
Yes,
100% are
no,
yes.
writers.
you're a writer. We're all writers. But as I'm listening or reading someone else's work, I start to sort of break down, like, God, what must have been the process? For example, right now, Hail Mary is the book I'm super into, and I'm thinking about like the author's process to come to the problems that now the characters have to solve. So for you, when you're in someone else's restaurant, are you sort of breaking down like what's the story they're telling? How do you sort of think about maybe other people's cooking in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I
Ooh,
think
good
the
question.
restaurants that are truly like exceptional have a real story to tell. And the ones that are there as serviceable they're great and they can be really terrific experiences, but they don't leave you like just in the same place. And I don't know that they'll still stand the test of time. We'll see. But like a restaurant that has a truly like inspiring story. I mean, like I'm gonna give you an example, like Frontera Grill has got like a narrative that's like deep and real and personal, and you can feel it. And and I'm sure that restaurant will be around forever, even if Rick wasn't there. I just think it has like it has a again, it has a story that's told in this really, you know, a way that touches back to its origins.
Okay, let's go with that for a second because I was talking, I think it was David Manilow a while ago, about the idea of
Hmm.
restaurants having souls and that you can tell when you're somewhere that feels a little soulless, like it's a
Yeah,
corporate venture. They are doing this as a business versus the places that somebody has poured into and it's really an expression of
for
them and
sure.
what they believe. So, wait, I'm taking a tangent for a second. I have to tell you how I landed at Lula for the first time ever.
Hmm.
So, 20 years ago, I was working my first PR job. I had no money and I was dating an older, successful guy, but it was his birthday. And I wanted to impress him and take him out to dinner somewhere special that he hadn't been before. So I asked this woman in my office who dabbled in the culinary world, I was like, where should we go for dinner? And she goes, there's this kind of newer spot that if you know, you know, and it's called Lula. And I was like, okay, like, where is it? And she's like, Logan Square, which I had never been to. I mean, this
Of
was
course not.
yeah, it's like 2005. And so we went for dinner and it was amazing. And I felt like I had this like insider's glimpse into where people who were into food were going out to eat. And I've loved it ever since. And every time I go, it feels like there's this like warmth and you feel invited and there's no pretense, but the food is killer. And so you've created this space that has evolved but hasn't changed, if that makes sense. Like the soul has always been there.
Right.
And I think that's the greatest challenge is to not dilute or lose what makes you special. So my long-winded question is, how do you sustain the soul of a restaurant over multiple decades?
Well, first of all, you got to show up, which is the hard part, I think. And the part that doesn't work for a lot of people. I mean, I have a life here that has allowed me to show up every day. I mean, between, Leah's support, my wife's support, and like we live across the street, and like it's, an all-in um, kind of feeling. So I mean, I think showing up is the biggest thing. And then also, I mean, people don't show up because they expand and they do a bunch of different projects. And like that's good for them. And I've done other things too, and that's, always been hard for me to balance those things. So I do think that's the first step. The second thing is that you have to build long-term relationships with people. And this is about connections, right? So the connections need to be rooted and deep, and they need to breed their own connections. So I think that it doesn't all come from me, it comes from the other people who work here. And I've had people who've worked here for a long time who connect with guests and other employees. And if you do that, then the story sort of, you know, grows outward like a forest, or, it has a kind of biology that is organic and does its own work. So I think that is how I kind of think about the soul of Lula.
I love that.
I was picturing a mushroom as you
Yeah, mushroom. I actually use trees and mushrooms all the time as
do.
the examples of this. Um, I was really inspired by that Richard Powers book Overstory, which is a beautiful novel, and it's about trees, but it's really about people in America, like connected to trees. But it really thinks a lot about how forests are not individual, a grouping of individual trees. They have like community aspects. They share information, they share nutrients in a really specific way. Um, they they do this amazing thing called, crown shy, where they don't actually close at the top so that sunlight can get through to support their, younger, more, tender members of their community. Like that's a really powerful image to me. And I think about that a lot in terms of like our Lula community.
Wait, is that the name of a restaurant in New York, Crown Shy?
Yeah, I
I
think
always
so.
wonder where that came from, but maybe that
Yeah.
is the root of it.
Yeah.
No pun
Interesting.
intended.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Pilot Light and connecting kids to food in classrooms. So I'm curious. One, where did that come from? And two, what are the most powerful connections you've really seen through that program?
Well, I'm glad you asked about that. Pilot was created by chefs about, let's see, 16 years ago. Matthias Mergis, Paul Kahn, me. We came together during the Obama administration because there was a program called Chefs Move to Schools that Michelle Obama had begun, encouraging chefs to get connected to their school systems and, do good work. And we kind of got together and like, well, what does that mean? And our answer to that was to basically take over a school one day and teach classes across all grade levels. And what we did was we asked the teachers, like, hey, what are you teaching on that day? And we'll come up with something that supports whatever you're doing in the classroom, because we don't want to take, we know you have your agenda, et cetera. So like in that moment, we actually stumbled upon this like really great idea, which is that connecting with teachers and supporting them to use food in the classroom really engages kids and can bring a level of attention and like joy to learning that they didn't have before, and also expose them to food and nutrition and other ideas about our world. So yeah, we us chefs, like we wrote lessons with teachers, like in collaboration with teachers on that day, and took over, the classrooms. That began, now a 15-year plus program of food education that's now in 26 states, and serving thousands of kids. And it all starts with the teachers. Teachers apply to work with us, and then they're part of a fellowship, which teaches that, well, doesn't teach them, engages them on creating curriculum that works in their particular school. So it means that teachers bring their own needs and context to their curriculum development. And allows them to engage their kids on their own terms. So it's not a program that's like dumped in on top of them. It's not forced. They come to us, and it really supports their initiatives. And I mean, the first connections that are made that are really important there are, well, I mean, the first one would be with the teachers, and just like teachers need support and they need to feel like they have someone on their side. But the second thing I'd say is like just showing up. Like I've just mentioned showing up at the restaurant, but like just having the kids show up and be excited about school is itself a victory. And pilot like teachers report like increased greatly increased attendance on days that they're bringing food into the classroom and teaching with food. So that's exciting.
You are such a mensch. I don't have the pleasure of knowing Paul, but I know Matthias, and you guys are both such good humans. And I think, in addition to having families and running your restaurants, to pour yourself into this initiative and do it for 16 years is just absolutely incredible. And I come from a family of educators, and I think anybody who shows up to help teachers is like the best kind of person. So
Oh,
thank you
that's
for
good.
doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, my family was teachers as well, so I have a personal connection to that myself.
You do have a professorial vibe. I feel like this
Yeah.
could
Oh
also
yeah,
be,
I could
yeah,
do
oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like the worn
so
out
high.
blazer, front of classroom, the patches on
Yeah,
the
yeah, the
elbows.
patches on the, yeah, exactly. I
But
should
you'd
do
be
Yeah.
it.
really, really good in office hours. Like people would be like, you
Yes.
got to go to office hours. He's great in the classroom, but like, you got to go to office hours.
Jason, what about, okay, so we chatted a little bit because we run into each other in gym parking lots, which is always a great place to catch up.
Yep.
Um, but you were telling me a little bit about your next door series, the LouLou series.
Yeah.
You have this cookbook out. Like, bring us into what's happening in your world.
Well, I mean, what's happening in my world is I'm trying to create experiences for people that show exactly what we've been talking about today, which is like the degree to which the community around Lula is rich, and it's definitely a rich soil and has a lot of growth in it. So I like to highlight members of our community, whether that's chef friends that I'm connected to, or my wife's in her musical career, and like she's a musician who plays out a lot and has recorded a few records and wants to engage with that part of the world. So we do have a small space around the corner called LouLou, and it's a little creative salon. So we're able to host events there. And my wife is doing a series called El Soiree, which is like a salon style conversation between artists. And we have dinner, we cook dinner and make it a sort of an experience, all night experience. And I've hosted several chef talks there, and book dinners, etc. So that's like an important part of life for me right now. And then you did mention the cookbook. The cookbook did come out, a little more than a year ago, but like it has a strong life, and people are still connecting to it, and really tells the story of like how this happened. And I do talk about the hospitality and the connections in the ways that I've been talking about with you two today. Looking at the sort of organic experience of growing this restaurant, and the people and the stories that have made it feel soulful.
As you're talking about this, I'm wondering, we're Rachel and I asked you a lot of questions about work. And you mentioned that you live across the street, your family is really supportive. You have a lot of systems in place to make it easy for you to work and build these connections at work. What about Jason outside of work? Are you finding
There's
time reconnect?
that doesn't really, that's not like a thing.
Great.
Okay, what do I do outside of
Or even
this?
like how are you finding time to nurture the part of your soul that lives in connections outside of work? Are you giving yourself that? And the answer can be no, and nobody's shaming you for that.
Okay, well, I mean, honestly, that's been a hard thing.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun on any kind of like quick fire round that you to have planned for later, but like you did ask me like what advice I would give my younger
Mhm.
self in terms of building connections. I think I think men in particular have pretty hard time maintaining friendships that they made in earlier parts of their lives. Um, I mean, I mean, forgive me if I'm gendering this, but like I do think that's like a
Hmm.
particularly big problem that men have with their
Data shows
old
it.
friends. They just like
Yeah.
don't maintain those relationships. I'm guilty of that. And I mean, I do think I have been thinking a lot about how to repair those things. Not that I don't have any, not that you need repairing, but like I do need to reconnect with a lot of people who meant something to me 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I think that's something that I want to prioritize more in my life. And again, it's like about finding time to do that. But in terms of like I mean, if you're asking like how I maintain peace of mind or whatever, I mean, I'm definitely like an exerciser, but that's like a time by myself when I'm, like listening to podcasts and being sorry for the state of the world. Do read a lot, and I am trying to still work on my Italian. So
Hmm.
those are the things that I focus on. I have two kids too, so they take up a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're big kids now, though.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on college essays, talking about writing right
Whew.
now, which is super hard, and I don't know if I'm giving the right advice. So
Outsource it. Sometimes
Yes.
it's too close to home.
Yes. I love that you mentioned male friendship, and I know I'm going backwards a little bit, but Jeet and I are kind of fixated on friendship, and we definitely have explored a little bit how female friendships look so much different than male ones. And I'm wondering how, first of all, I think it's great that you're so aware that you want to go back and reignite these relationships. What I'm curious about is how you think you'll do that and what that might look like, because I believe that you can always go back to somebody you've cared about and try again, but I'm interested in the how.
well, I mean, I wrote a list of people that I want to connect to.
Love a list.
I mean, it's
Yep.
obvious, and I just randomly call them. Have I been successful? Like, honestly, no.
So
Like,
no text in advance, just the cold
I mean,
call.
I've tried a couple of texts and like and usually what happens is they're like, oh, I can talk at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And I'm like, yeah. And then 2 o'clock on Thursday comes by and like there's some kind of, issue at the restaurant or there's something that's like not working right. And then it doesn't happen. And then I feel like I've let them down. So I've been cold calling and I haven't really gotten through, but I'm committed to it. So there's that. Finding time when I'm like the other thing happens is that I go to cities a lot that these people are at and don't see them.
Mm,
Um, that I could change with planning ahead in terms of traveling because I do travel for work quite a bit, but whether I'm in New York or LA, like there are people there that I could spend time with. Um, and the balance here, the challenge is that I like alone time. I'm like a reader and I'll write and I'll do things by myself. And I don't get a lot of it because I'm a restaurant owner. So, it's not like a solitary piece. If I'm here for 14 hours, they like not gonna be by myself. So, so sometimes I use those trips to be like decompress or like read or do something or like, you know what I mean? And that's not prioritizing the relationship part of my life. So I could think differently about that, I think.
I honestly think like in this season of your life, what you're doing is great, Jason. Like I think you're doing
I
wonderful things.
appreciate that.
Don't get down on yourself. Like the fact that you're like the fact that you wrote the list to start, like
the
incredible.
list.
The
Yes.
list, incredible. And also we know data, like exactly to your point, like data shows us that men do have fewer connections as they age. So it's not a just Jason thing. So I can guarantee you when you do finally connect with these people, they will appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I do have like, I mean, I'll give you an example that's really sweet. I talk to Josh Culp pretty much a couple times
Oh,
a
from Honey
week. Josh
Butter.
from Honey Butter. Yeah. So we're pretty tight. And it's mostly, like how are you doing? What's going on with the work? Or, if we have a problem with an HR problem that needs solve an opinion, we'll talk to each other. He has a little kid. I don't know how old, but he's small. And one day he came home from preschool with a rock and he said that he was his pet rock. And Josh was like, "Well, what's your pet rock's name?" And he said his name is Hammel because I talk to it about my problems.
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
That was
Oh, for the
beautiful, right?
listener, this is Jason's last name, Hammel. So
Yeah,
you are the pet
yeah,
rock and
I love
yeah,
it.
the problem
yeah,
solver.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God. That's
Because little
so
Wolfie's in the back
sweet.
seat listening to us talk about whatever problems that we have.
That's amazing. And that just
So
shows you kids at
it
that age.
models, I mean, it models healthy male friendship. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And kids hear everything. Rachel, what do you think? Should we have a connection conversation?
Yes, let's dive in. But I guess we can skip number two because Jason gave us such
I
good
already,
advice for
sorry,
younger
I
self.
jumped
That's
ahead.
Don't
Yeah,
okay.
worry. Don't worry. We send you these questions, these connection conversation questions in
right.
advance for that very reason, because they are thinkers and they do require a little introspection. Well, tell us about the last connection you've made. We know you're meeting a lot of people in your line of work. Is there anybody that feels really notable?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if there's always so many great people that you're talking to. When asked this question, I thought about something unusual, which is that when my book came out, I sent it like cold to some people that I wanted to connect to that I had never met before. And that actually prompted some good relationships. So, we talked about Italy. So I actually sent it to this wine bar in Naples that I had gone to. Just like it's like got four little tables. It's a natural wine bar. They serve snacks. I don't know why I sent it to them. I just was like, they were cool. I'd love to know them. And I sent it to them. And then I've been lucky enough to be in Naples twice this year for pilot light reasons. And both times went back there. And the book is like literally on their shelf. And she is like super sweet to me. We don't have a lot in common. And like we talk about wine or whatever, but it's a connection that is really like it just feels heartfelt and makes a deeper experience about being in someone's place that you took the time to like do something like that and the expense of like sending it overseas. Um, so giving gifts to people that don't expect them is something that like can really create a deep and unexpected connection.
Did you write a handwritten note or how did
I did.
you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I wrote them a little note just being like, I love your place and like, would love to, I'd love to connect sometime. That was it.
I
Did you write it in
love
English or
examples.
Italian?
It was in Italian.
Okay.
Nicely done. Yes. I have this, like, there's this Oprah saying about listening to the whispers, which I think can mean a number of things, but that if you have an
Hmm.
urge or a feeling about something, to honor it and see it through. So I think there's something really beautiful about you felt compelled to send your book with a note to this little wine bar. And then the fact that they have it on display and it's created this relationship was a whisper worth honoring.
Yeah, absolutely.
How meaningful for them too. Well, it doesn't seem, Jason, that you're the kind of person who wouldn't connect with someone who you want to connect with. So I'm curious about this next question. Is there anybody in the world who you really want to connect with who you haven't had the chance to meet yet?
I mean, this is kind of like that question where like if you had a dinner, who would you invite? That's kind of like the idea, right? Well, I thought I'd throw out two random ones that of people that I've been listening to lately. So one is Bella Freud because I don't know if you listen to her podcast. It's brilliant. This is Bella Freud, the fashion designer, and also great granddaughter and daughter. I mean, she's a Freud.
A Freud queen.
Um, yeah, for real. And she has a show called Fashion Neurosis where she interviews people, and it's fascinating. And I
Clever.
would love to flip it and interview her. So that would be a connection I'd love to make. But the other one is Marilyn Robinson, who's the author of Gilead and other novels, Homecoming.
Mhm.
She's won several Pulitzer Prizes, and she has a really interesting interview in the New York Times right now. She is a very religious person, and she has sort of broken through. Like her novels are very religious in nature, but they sort of speak to, I don't know, the deep connections and like the deepest, like most I don't know, elemental like thinking that you could do about what it means to be human in the world. And the interview that I just read just this week is a lot about, finding beauty in the world and like what that has meant for her in her life. And she's in her 80s. So I'd love to connect with someone who has this point of view and just sort of think about what their life has to say about where we are right now, because that's so we're in a troubling place, and I'm looking for all the help one can get.
I'm feeling like you send handwritten notes with your cookbook to both of them, and then you invite
Right.
them to Lulu for a conversation.
You always miss those opportunities. Like I did a book dinner once when the book came out in New York, and Chloe Sevigny was at a table in the restaurant. She wasn't like at my book event, but she was there, and I was like, "Do I give her this book? Do I not give her this book?" And I didn't give it to her, and I regret it ever since. So,
Chloe, if you're listening.
right? You're listening, yeah. I
Great
got you a
cookbook.
copy ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Jason, I want to be in a book club with you. Or just like send links back and forth of things to read.
Oh, and I'm reading such a good one right now.
What are
It's
you
What?
reading?
oh my God, it's so good. It is set in like the future. Um and it's called What We Can Know. It's Ian McEwan who wrote
Oh yeah,
Atonement.
Saturday?
Yes, yeah. And it is very compelling. It's like he's looking back at the years. They're in the future. He's like a scholar looking back at a particular poet who published and in the time of societal collapse, which was he's studying 1990 to 2030.
Oh boy.
Oh, how prescient.
So it's about what's happening in our world right now, but it's being told from a future perspective. I mean, it's not science fictiony, it's very literary, but it's so far it's compelling. Really into it.
Okay, adding to the
Anyways,
list for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Got a lot of those, but amazing.
Well,
Oh,
Jason, as we wrap up our time with you, I know everyone can find you at the restaurant. Is there anywhere else you want people to look for you or find you?
Sure. There are a couple of things that I've written or speeches that I've given on the topics that we were just talking about, specifically hospitality, emotional labor, emotional intelligence, empathy. I spoke at the Welcome Conference in Chicago a few years ago, and then I actually did something at my old high school that I put up on my website. So you could go to jasonhammel.com and see these speeches if they're interested. That would be a place to find me.
I think you could
Uh,
also add a tab to sell pet rocks and just the
yes,
Hamel
pet
rocks.
rocks. Okay, that's a good way of like operational. I like making it
Monetize.
make money, monetizing the whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hamel's hospitable rocks will
yeah, yeah.
listen
Right.
endlessly.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Empathy in a stone.
Oh, bring in the
Yes.
tech bros.
Wait, empathy stones. Couldn't we all use that? Like a new version of the
Empathy
stone
stone.
soup?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Exactly. Empathy stone.
Like worry rocks, like
Easy,
worry
easy
dolls.
money.
Yeah, easy money, print
Or
money.
a book title.
Yeah. Jason, it was so wonderful to meet you from my
Nice to meet you.
perspective.
Yeah, great to
And
be
Jason,
here. I
thank you for
appreciate
letting
all the
me
questions.
accost you in the parking lot and say, will you
Oh
please
no,
come on the
of course.
podcast?
Of course.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you for being an institution in Chicago, all the wonderful work you do. I cannot wait actually to read your book one day.
Oh, thank you so much. I just gotta write it. So that's my challenge. But I honored being here, and thank you for asking. I love talking about this, and I hope you all have a really great day today.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Rachel, our booker is just so on the money, don't you think?
Oh, why, thank you.
Jason was just such a good conversation, had so much knowledge to share. And you brought him into a lot of I mean, like he existed in the world, but you brought his storytelling to the forefront at your Between Bites event where I saw him for the very first time.
I mean, I keep waiting for him to say, "You've asked me enough times, please stop." But he's such a good writer, and he also is such a great delivery of stories that I
Mhm.
always want him in our lineup. And he tells pretty epic, highly memorable stories, which you've mentioned a number of times after seeing him at Daisy's.
Yeah. The story he told at the event we came to, I think my husband and Justin and I were both there, and we afterwards both agreed that that story was so memorable. We walked out of there being like, we know how the story ends, but we just want to hear him tell us. It's such an incredible cliffhanger, the story he told. Wow. Thanks for bringing it.
Spoiler, it involved a culinary moment gone high. Wait, was he? It
He was
involved an
chopping wood.
axe. He was
Yeah, he was
yes,
chopping wood.
yes.
Yeah. It was a
He
wood
lived to tell the
chopping
tale.
accident. Yes, and he did live to tell the tale. But he left us at the cliffhanger, and like logic would tell you, he is standing here and he is fine. but also part of you's like, how does it end?
Yes, I've been lightly haranguing him for years to write a book just because I think he has such a wordsmith ability and there's stories that need to be told. So I truly hope he does it one day.
Oh man, I can't wait. Maybe it takes place in the time of Chef TV. Who knows?
Could be.
Yeah. Rachel, should we do our show and tell?
Yes, I am curious what yours is because I have not heard yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to go first?
Go first.
Okay, mine is a concept. It's an idea. It really goes along with the general theme of hospitality and storytelling. But as I've mentioned before, we recently moved to Southwest Michigan. We're living in Bridgman, Michigan, which is close to New Buffalo, Michigan, where we're building Petite Acres. And as is my kind of sweet spot, I love making connections. I love building bridges and sort of building partnerships. And so I've had the past few months to reach out to local business owners and have meetings and pitch partnerships to people. And I can't think of a case when the answer's been no. Like people are always very interested in meeting and connecting, and it's from this sort of authentic place of there's enough to go around. Like the community is small. Like people really genuinely want to get to know you out here, and I just think it's lovely.
I'm so glad because there's nothing better than feeling welcomed to a new community and having people be like, yes. The answer is just yes.
Well, even like we joined the chamber of, or a couple of chambers of commerce, and we've been to events, and the events our chamber events aren't always fun and friendly, and they are fun and friendly out here. So it's really lovely. Not that Chicago's not friendly, but it's different. It's like it's bigger. It's you kind of have to like push your way in sometimes to new friendship circles, which is why people need a little extra help making friends sometimes. But I love it.
And
Right?
you've been a walking testimonial in the best way for life in New Buffalo. I am totally
move
along
here.
for the ride. I love hearing about your process. And I think there is something special about a smaller pond and then the ability to make faster relationships because people are more integrated and connected.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you're ready, like, come on out. Move on out.
Oh, I feel I am going to be spending a lot of time at Petite Acres.
Okay, tell me your show and tell.
So I saw this on Instagram yesterday, and it felt very fitting because it was from Will Guidara, who wrote the book Unreasonable Hospitality that you and I are both obsessed with.
Yep.
And he has actually a dual pack of cards coming out. It's called Dialogues. And to get this right, it says they combine the fun and tradition of playing cards with the depth and connection of conversation decks. So each set is 2 decks, one lighthearted icebreakers, and then one for deeper connections. So, I love Danielle Robey's Question Everything cards. I think we should all amass as many question cards as we can. You never know when they'll come in handy, but I just love the idea of having a literal back pocket tool to foster better conversations.
I love that.
Dialogues.
Dialogues. I will. Are they pre-order? Or are they on sale now?
So there was a link in his bio, and I went to some website. It looks like a partnership between him and a company. So I'm guessing they're for sale now, and
Mm.
I'm also guessing that I will buy them.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy them too. Um, it's a natural next step too, because it does seem like, as we talk about hospitality and his take on hospitality, hospitality comes from a place of understanding and warmth and really striving to get to know the people around you. So I of course makes perfect sense.
Yes, and I think actually curiosity and hospitality live side by side. Because to be curious about people is to be interested in them, and to be hospitable to people, you have to be attuned to what drives them and what's important to them.
Yeah, I guess the only way for us to really know if that's what he thinks is for him to come on this podcast.
Well, I'm working on it.
Hoping
Come
to
join
invite,
us.
come join us. I talk about Will, and I'm not kidding, like every day of my life. Because unreasonable hospitality has been ingrained in the fabric of what we're building at Petite Acres. So when there are certain, I do have a question I want to ask him, Rachel. You want to hear what the question I would ask him?
I do, but I'm
Um,
also thinking that Jason might be a great resource on your hospitality questions.
for sure. Well, I'm curious too, because, and I wonder whatever anybody like Jason, who have ingrained hospitality at that next level where things are kind of surprising, where things are kind of customized, are they publicizing those big moments, those big wow
Mm.
moments that catch people's attention as they're doing them? Because we've heard the hot dog story. If you've seen the bear, if you've seen the bear, you see that they went out and got Chicago pizza and plated it, and it came from Will's story of getting a New York style hot dog, cutting it up and plating it like 5-star dining, because that's what they heard their guests talking about missing. And so moments like that, did they shout it from the rooftops in the moment to other restaurants nearby, or did he save it because it was something special?
I don't know for sure, but my guess is this has been one of those under the radar, if you know,
Mm-hmm.
insider things that is best learned about through word of mouth, because
Mm-hmm.
to publicize it might take away from the patina
The
and the
special.
specialness.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, I mean, I didn't know about these things until I read his book, and I think that might have been deliberate.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to throw in an interesting gripe slash contrast moment, because hospitality being the theme here. I went to dinner at a restaurant recently, and I was with another couple and Ruben, and the company was wonderful. And the room felt
Mm-hmm.
pretty good that we were dining in. And the price point was fairly high, as dining out
Mm-hmm.
right now is kind of expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a really disappointing experience from both a
Oh.
service and hospitality perspective. And the only time our server was really dialed into the table is when he was dropping the check and picking up the check. And
Mm.
having been somebody who worked as a waitress, not very well, but like has been in restaurants quite a bit, I was like, wow, what a lost opportunity. Like every time he talked to us, it just felt like his eyes were darting elsewhere. He wanted to be at another table. His head was not in the conversation. He would stand somewhere where it was kind of hard to hear him, and I have to be like, oh, can you come over here so I can hear you better? And I left afterwards and I thought, for as much money as was spent, that was such a missed opportunity. I did
Mm-hmm.
not feel connected to the restaurant. And I think your server is a portal of connection. If your server brings you in, then you feel more a part of this restaurant environment. So I really just, I guess, full circle, want to commend Jason and the Lula Cafe team, because to be acknowledged for outstanding hospitality means you have an ability to make everybody who walks in feel special and accepted and wanted. And when you don't get that from a restaurant, you have no incentive to return.
Yeah. And that also was an award for all US based restaurants, right? Like
That was a national
and
award.
that, yeah, that was
Yes.
a national award. That was, he got exceptional hospitality in 2024, or Lula Cafe, I should say, got exceptional hospitality in 2024 out of all of the restaurants in the nation, which is insanity. That's so many
Right?
people. Um, and they consider a lot of factors too. I also, Rachel, when I hear stories like that of, I think back to, I was also a server through college and beyond and before college, and I also, I like to do a good job when I have a job. Even for me,
Yes.
when it was like,
Yes.
I'm just trying to get spending money and trying to drink for free in college, there also was this element of like, I'm trying to be at this table. And one thing that I picked up on, and I don't know if anyone ever taught me this, was that your table knows if you're stressed out, and they shouldn't. No. If you're stressed out, like there should be, if someone says to you, I know you're busy, you did something wrong. Or like, I know you've got a lot going on. Like, I just think they should feel like they're the only table in the place. And I think that's kind of what you're describing. Like you wanted to feel, and that's a lot to ask for as a guest, but I'm saying from my experience as a server, that's how I wanted to make people feel like they are the only table in the room. And I think that's what you're noting. Like you felt like you were not.
Yes. And I guess if you provide technically sound service and you're not that hospitable, that's fine. Or if you really give amazing hospitality and your service is a little bit lacking, people will forgive you for it. But you can't be missing on both fronts. And it's like camp counselor face. Like even if you feel chaotic, you have to, in front of the kids that you're in charge of, be like, I've got this, game face on. So a lot of thoughts here. But net, I just think that people who deliver beautiful hospitality are so special, and we need more of it. And nothing drives connection better than treating somebody with like deep, intentional, and genuine hospitality. Thank you for coming to my hospitality TED Talk.
Hey, I'm here for it. I am here for it. Rachel, anything else before we wrap it up today?
I'm just so glad we're having these great conversations. And for anybody who's enjoying the podcast, please subscribe or leave us a review or rating. It's been so wonderful to feel like we're building this community of people who are enjoying these conversations. Number one being my mom, who calls me immediately following every single episode. But net, it's been really an affirming experience, and we're very grateful.
Yeah, we're having a good time with you guys. But this has been another episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. This is a podcast by two friends and connections, Rachel Gilman-Rishel and Gina Anderson-Cohen. You can follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, using our full names. We'd love to hear from you. Those places, if you have our phone numbers, text us. We like to hear from you there too. Thanks to Jason Hammel. Jeez, who's Joel Hammel? Isn't that an ice skater? Who's Joel Hammel?
I don't know. Who's Joel?
Let's look him up.
Oh my God.
Get back into that. Joel Hammel is a guy I know from college. That's who it is. Thanks to Joel Hammel. He's an attorney now. Good for you, Joel. Good for you. As you work. Okay. I wonder if they're related. Thanks to Jason Hammel for being our guest this week. We loved having you. Thanks to all of you for listening. And thanks to Ben Cleaver for editing. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.